All right, guys. I hope you can't hear that Chihuahua freaking yapping in the background, or any of the various background noises from this beach town here in Mexico. But if you can, then enjoy it. It's authentic. So in this one, as we mentioned in the last one, we're gonna be talking about how to build a high-value ecom network. I think this is a pretty important thing, and I did not place nearly enough emphasis on this in my early stages of life. I think it kind of it happened naturally for me by the ways that I did things, but I never really did it on purpose. And now I'm kind of thinking more along these lines of really creating and maintaining my relationships with people. And I'm thinking of that as a much more important thing, because I've very much realized over the past few years that the saying, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. It's freaking true, man. I mean, it is so freaking true. I think the biggest example of that really just showed that to me was that whole situation with selling masks last year, with doing medical masks, doing large scale medical supply sales for a week. I won't go super into that now. I think some of y'all probably have heard that story before. I've told it on the email list a few times. But I was just able to make almost an average yearly salary in a week's worth of work, just because of I knew someone, and that someone that I knew someone else. Networks are important. I really hate the term your network, or your net worth is your network, or whatever it is. Your network is your net worth. That is just the corniest thing in the entire world, but it's kind of true. It's a thing. So in this one, yeah, we just want to talk about the things that we've done to build our network, and the things that we recommend you guys do to do the same, because as I said, it's important. So Scotty, I'm curious to hear your take on this, because I feel like you might have a bit of a different approach to it than I do.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this outline that you made, and I think there's one glaring omission that should go before everything else.
Let's hear it.
You need to have a valuable skill or valuable experience before having a network benefits you. Because
did you not see that? The second to last bullet here? Come on, man.
Yeah, but it needs to be number one. It needs to be bullet number one. Before you post content online, you have to not be an 18-year-old dipshit who knows nothing about nothing.
That's true.
That is step one.
So,
not to call anyone out in our group, but step one is actually do stuff and actually get experience and actually develop skills before you try to network and make friends and all that cool stuff.
I mean, the key to networking is being someone that people want to know, to connect with. There's no hack to that. If you're not someone that brings value to the table, that has, people have a reason to want to be in contact with you, it's not going to happen. And that's not something to be if you're young and you're just a 17-year-old kid, you don't have any experience or anything. That's not something to be oh, dude, I'm screwed. I don't have any experience. I'm not a high value person. No, I mean, it's an opportunity. That's the thing that you got to do. Ultimately, you have to develop yourself into the type of person that other people want to be friends with, that other people want to connect with, that other people want to provide value to. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. There's a lot of different ways to do that. It's not just as I feel like listening to this, you might think that the way that you do that is by having success in business. That's kind of the main way off the top of my head that you would kind of become the type of person that people want to connect with. But it also goes a lot further than that. So I was talking to my buddy Ryan the other week, and he was telling me about his new venture that he's up to. I'm not going to get super into that because I don't think that he really wants me airing out his dirty laundry on the podcast. Is this a podcast? It's a podcast now. But basically, he was telling me about how the opportunity, the business that he's working in now, the reason that he even got that opportunity in the first place was because he did some work with first, I guess it was some dude's wife. He was doing some marketing work for them. And I think he was just being himself. He's a great guy, and he treated her well. He was respectful and, took care of business, all that kind of stuff. He was great to work with. And because of that, I guess her husband is a bit more of a big business baller than the wife. And the husband was like, yo, I absolutely love the way that you handled this stuff that you did with my wife. You treated her with respect. You were awesome to work with. You were, great communicator, whatever. And because of that, that guy offered him this opportunity that he's working with now. And I think that's like a huge key. Is like just be like a good person. That's like as simple as it sounds. Just be a stand-up person. Be respectful. Be straightforward with people. Be reliable. Like those are some key things that anyone can do that will make developing your network much easier.
Yeah, I think there's a few people that are sort of naturally good at that, and they tend to be pretty and humble and certainly not brash or overconfident or arrogant.
Yeah.
I think that people that are humble, young, and hardworking and very professional, very much focused on over delivering, those are the kind of guys that tend to get picked up by more successful mentors, where they kind of take you under their wing.
Yeah.
And your buddy Ryan fits that description. My buddy Luke fits that description. Like my buddy Luke has like an insane network of people, all just because one guy pretty much hired him and trusted him and has taken him on trips and has taken him on his boat and stuff, and you meet a bunch of people through that. And there's people like that that are just incredibly likable.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're just a charismatic person, that goes so far. I mean, that goes incredibly far. Especially nowadays, because I feel like people are just getting more antisocial and like fucking self-centered and like just not. There's less and less real, genuine people, like real, authentic, genuine people. That is becoming a rarity, and if you can do that, that goes a really long way. I would say, dude, another thing, like a random thing that you can do to become like a person that people want to connect with, is if you're funny, if you just have great energy, and like every time someone talks to you, they just, you know, if you're talking to them on the phone, they hang up the phone and they just like feel great, like that you just gave them an energy boost just by being yourself. That is like, I mean, that's huge. That gets you into so many doors. It's actually insane.
Yeah, 100%.
And that works with, I mean, that works with everything, man. Like that works with freaking cold email. Like if you make someone laugh in a cold email, they're so much more likely to respond to you, to do something, you know, to actually respond to whatever your request is.
I also think most of my network, and both in terms of people I've networked with sort of on my level, and also people that have successfully networked with me, if you want to put it that way, most of it is based on some sort of a work arrangement of they've done some work for you, you've done some work with them, you've done some sort of a joint venture or partnership. That's generally in the business sphere, I think, how a lot of networks are built, where you don't necessarily work for them, but you did some work with them at some point in the past.
Yeah.
I think that is, I mean, almost always the case with, not always, but a lot of the time the case with the network that you build. That there's some sort of a working arrangement that starts it off.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you have any sort of good experience with someone, you're gonna want to keep them around. You know, like as simple as that. Like, I mean, our video editor, like that dude, I freaking love him. I love him to death. I've never met him in person, but every time we've worked together, he is so reliable. He's so good. He does exactly what we need him to do every single time. And I mean, I would do, you know, I mean, that has paid off for him, like, because I've promoted him in, you know, on my YouTube channel before, and he's gotten a bunch of business from that. And I was happy to do that. It's not like I charged him for that. It was just like, dude, you're an awesome guy. Like, I would be happy to do anything I can to help you grow and succeed, because you have done the same for me. And I think, like, really at the root of it, like, that's what you got to do. You have to, if you want people to provide value to you, you have to provide value to them. And you got to go out of your way, and you got to be really amazing. And it's like, I don't know, it brings me to this concept that I really love, which is kind of like the world is a mirror. Whatever you put out is what you get. So if you're like just constantly trying to snag value from other people and you're not actually doing anything to provide it, you're not going to get any back. But if you provide a lot of value, you're going to get it back. It's like just how things work.
Super simple example. If you want to network with us, if you happen to be a really good content person, you're a photographer, a videographer, enthusiast, professional, whatever, we just mentioned in the last episode that it might be time to hire a content person full time. Shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot. I love it. So far we've kind of talked about like more principle-based stuff, right? Like, that's really the important part. That's what you got to do. If you don't do these things that we've talked about up to this point, like nothing that we're going to talk about from this point on is really going to work. But I do want to get into some more specific tactical things that you can do because, people love the tactics. We got to give them the tactics. So I want to tell you guys about like how I've kind of done it myself. And I don't think this is necessarily the best way to do it for everyone, but how it's kind of happened for me and how I've developed my own sort of network, it was largely through my Twitter account. It was largely through, basically, when I got started doing Ecom in early 2018, I was posting about it on Twitter. And I wasn't doing this to build a network. I was doing it because I wanted to build a personal brand. And it just kind of happened, along with it. So I was posting about what I was doing, like, okay, ran this test today, it didn't work, whatever. Like, I was constantly just like, basically, I guess, what they call, quote unquote, building in public. I've seen a lot of people talk about that. Do something, build a business, and talk about it. Talk about what you're doing. Share the process. Share your journey. You don't have to be, you don't have to come from the perspective of like, I know what I'm doing. You can come from the perspective of like, I'm just getting started in this and I'm doing my best, and you guys can follow along if you want. And that's kind of what I did. And that allowed me, my Twitter account grew. Once I started seeing some success with Ecom, my Twitter account grew like crazy. Within the first year, I think I definitely had over 10,000 followers, like maybe even closer to 20. And that is really how I've met most of the people that I have in my network. It's been almost entirely online. I think there's a lot of ways to do it offline that I think you probably shouldn't neglect either. But the internet is an incredible tool. And the reason that we're sitting here right now, like, how do you think I met Scotty? I'm from the U.S. He's from Switzerland. Like, how would we meet? It's because I sent him a random message on Twitter one day. And honestly, I don't even think I did the right thing. Like, I don't think that I did it in a very good way. I think I was asking you to provide me value. But for whatever reason, it ended up working out. And then here we are all these years later, sitting in Mexico overlooking the beach. It's pretty cool. So that's like one big way is posting content online, providing value, sharing your journey. If you just do that, like, you're going to have people finding that content. And I'm amazed. I'm amazed at some of the people I've met just by posting content. Like, it is literally insane. I've met dozens and dozens of people. And a lot of them I've met in person.
Yeah.
Like, not only is it like an online relationship, it's like, no, we met on Twitter. And then, like, my roommate, I met him on Twitter.
That's honestly super important, getting the relationship offline at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what we've done. All these guys, like, that we've worked with, a lot of the guys on Twitter, like, we've gone on trips together. We've gone to Colombia in South America, rented a penthouse for 2 weeks, and just freaking balled out it was amazing. It was so much fun. I've done skiing trips with people I've met from Twitter. And that really, you really do have to take it in person. And, like, it's just the coolest thing. Because, like, another great example is, like, Sebastian and Johnny. Guys, I met both of them on Twitter. I literally met Sebastian because I tweeted about him one time. And I said something like, I didn't even tag him. I didn't know he had a Twitter or anything. I was just tweeting, like, it pisses me off to see guys like Sebastian Georgiou making more money than me because they're younger than me. Like, it drives me or something. Some corny tweet like that. And then he ended up seeing that, replied to the tweet. I followed him. I talked to him on the phone a couple days later. And, we're boys now. Like, I love going out there. I go out to visit him, like, multiple times a year. He's been out to visit me in North Carolina. And we do business together. It's awesome. Like, that is an incredibly valuable connection that just came to me because I just tweeted about him. I think that low-key could be like a little tactic there, like, tweet about the people that you want to connect with. They might see it. And I think probably, like, one of the best ways, especially when it comes to someone that you're trying to build a relationship with that is maybe a couple steps ahead of you, someone that you might view as like a mentor. I think the best possible way to connect with people like that is to, figure out what their advice is, implement their advice. If they know what they're talking about and you're not an idiot, you might be able to get some decent results implementing that advice. And then go back and just message them and let them know. Be like, yo, this concept that you talked about, I implemented this in my business. It got me XYZ results. And when people do that, like, people message me stuff like that, it makes me so happy. Like, And those types of people, I'm so willing to talk to them because I get a bunch of messages all the time from random people just wanting to connect, whatever. I ignore most of them, but messages like that I pay attention to and I actually respond to because by doing that they've shown me that they're not a bullshitter. They found my advice, they implemented it, they got results from it, and I think that's kind of like a big thing too. Is like people don't want to interact with people that are just going to waste their time. And the reality is most people involved in the online business space and really just anything are just time wasters. Like they're not real, they're not serious, they're not real players. So when you do that, you show them that you're a real player and they're going to be a lot more likely to want to do stuff with you.
They want to build their network too. And their network doesn't necessarily have to be people ahead of them or on their same level. They also want to network or have a connection with people who are up and comers.
Yeah.
But just because you're starting doesn't mean you're an up and comer. That just means you're a noob. Up and comer requires some sort of talent. They have to recognize or expect or think that this guy who happens to be DMing me might actually succeed, or I think this guy's going to do well.
Yeah.
So you have to show them some sort of proof or some sort of a sign that you're going to do well.
And heads up, there's nothing that you can say in a message without actually doing anything that is going to make someone think that you are like an up and comer, someone that's actually worth talking to. If you go and tell someone, hey man, I'm going to do this. This is my plan. I'm going to do this. It means nothing. I mean, it means absolutely zero. Until you actually do something and you get results, that's all that really matters. Another big thing, if you guys ever get the chance to go to any sort of mastermind, I would highly recommend doing that. There might be some out there that are like not that good or just, I don't know, put on by people who don't really know what they're talking about, but I guess I've really only been to one. Yeah.
Been to one and hosted one?
Yeah, I've been to one and I've hosted one, yeah. But the one that I went to, it was amazing. Like the people that I met there were incredibly valuable people. Unfortunately, I didn't really get to take full advantage of that because at that time I was just like not in a very solid place mentally or business wise. But that was just an incredible experience. It opened my mind to so many different things, and I learned a lot. And I met a lot of really cool people. So if you ever get a chance, definitely go to a mastermind. Maybe, I mean, I haven't really been to any like events, like an e-commerce event or like an affiliate summit or something. That's definitely something that I'd like to do. I think that could honestly be a pretty decent way. Like that's more in-person type deal. Other in-person stuff, like I've heard people talk about, I've never done this personally, but like hanging out in places where rich people are, like working from a super nice hotel lobby or something, or I don't know, just hanging out at the nice places. Like you meet, if you're somewhat social of a person, I think you can definitely meet a lot of people that way. Hanging out at the nice golf courses. Maybe I should do that. I should start hanging out at some more nice golf courses and just talking to the old rich dudes.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
My business partner met an employee of a fulfillment center at his local dive bar, and that fulfillment center hooked us up with a crazy good deal.
Yeah.
When they really shouldn't have based on our volume. Like we were barely worth taking on as a client, and they hooked us up with a fucking insanely good fulfillment rate that is normally reserved for high volume clients.
Yeah. It's crazy what you can get
just
by knowing the right people.
Yeah.
Like
that employee will go out of his way to like get our orders out right or tighten fucking bottle screws or something.
Yeah.
Like he will do manual work on our inventory and on our orders.
Yeah. And guys, I mean, I think that's kind of the basic rundown. It really comes down to building yourself up to be a person of value that people actually want to connect with, and then just putting yourself in as many different situations as possible where you would have the opportunity to meet new people. And that could be online, that could be offline. It could be a combination of the two.
I think the Ecom dispensary group is probably a pretty good place too.
Yeah.
I was talking to my buddy Luke, who's good at the sort of networking and just being likable and getting people to take him under his wing. And he says again, he hasn't never really gone out of his way to network. It just kind of happened. But if he were to do it, what he would do is buy courses and be active in the groups.
Yeah.
And probably like talk to people who you notice are knowledgeable. Because if you're just getting started, you don't want to be networking with other people who are just getting started, because most of them are going to drop off. You have to be able to see potential in people, and if you're just getting started, you probably can't recognize potential in other beginners. But I mean, it's not that hard to tell who in the Ecom dispensary is actually doing stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I could rattle off 3, 4, 5, 6 names right now.
Yeah.
So if you see somebody who's clearly doing Ecom and having some success, testing stuff, sharing useful info, hit them up. Try to start a conversation. Show that you've used their advice. Show that you've gotten results, and take it from there.
Yeah. I think that is just killer, man. Like, if you do all the things that we just laid out, I mean, you're going to meet a lot of really amazing people.
Funny enough, 2 of the guys inside our group were hanging out locally in Arizona not so long ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's tight.
I'll not shout them out, otherwise our Telegram will be flooded by Saturday afternoon. But yeah, I was talking to one of them. I knew he was going out to Arizona. I didn't realize he was going out to Arizona to hang out with another guy from the Ecom dispensary.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So yeah, guys, I mean, the opportunities are out there. Build yourself into a person that is actually worth knowing and talking to, and just give yourself as many opportunities as possible. Like, that's really the name of the game. There's a lot of different ways to do that. Pick whatever you enjoy the most, whatever makes the most sense for what you want to do, and just don't try too hard. Don't try too hard with it. I think this isn't something that happens because you're really going out and like working to build your network. It's like, no, I'm working to become a person that's worth knowing, and I'm putting myself in positions to meet people. Like,
one final thing, a lot of the time, even if you're maybe on a lower level business wise and you're working with someone or talking to someone who's got much more experience doing things at a bigger level, a lot of the times you have experience with something unrelated in life that maybe he wants to learn.
Yeah.
And if you can give him tips, and it has to be generally unsolicited advice is very bad. But if someone actually asks you questions about something that you know about and they don't, maybe you're a native Spanish speaker and they're learning Spanish and they ask you a question, if you can help them with that, you can give advice on jiu-jitsu, gym. Maybe you've traveled a lot and you have info on whatever 3rd tier Nicaraguan cities that he's maybe interested in traveling to. That is a good way to provide value to someone who maybe in business is ahead of you but hasn't got the experience in whatever you're good at. A lot of the people I talk to business wise are better at jiu-jitsu than me, and we just shoot the shit about business and we shoot the shit about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
works
for sure. And to end it off this episode, folks, ask not what other people can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Seriously though, give. Don't try to get. If you just focus on giving, you will get. The world is a mirror. That has been episode number 40. We'll talk to y'all in the next one.